Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. We live in an age today where ignorance rules the roost, where the knowledge of the deen, of the integrals, is something that is regarded as being strange. Nobody knows things that are regarded as basic, things which are discussed in the Quran and the Sunnah, and there's no difference of opinion on it, and yet it's like, where you come on with these things? One such thing is that of hijab. In today's time, people, men and women alike, the vast majority of Muslims don't know what hijab is. There's a common misconception amongst many people today that hijab is a headscarf. So you'll find online shops, offline shops, people selling scarves, and they're saying, we've got hijabs for sale. So you've got your Union Jack hijab, you've got your American flag hijab, you've got all other types of different types of hijabs. Some they've got rectangular ones, long ones, round ones, fixed ones, and they say we're selling hijab. While in reality, hijab has got nothing to do with a headscarf. A headscarf is but one aspect of hijab. The ruling of hijab is obligatory. It's not an option. It's not something you have a choice in. It's not something that, like people say, I will get there one day. One day I'll wear it. When I'm ready, I'll wear it. There's no choice in the matter. The obligation of hijab is like the obligation of salah, like the obligation of fasting. So too is this obligation of hijab. Like no Muslim can come and say, I'm not ready to fast this year. I'll fast sometime when I'm older. I'm not ready to perform salah yet. When I'm in a good place later on, I'll come make salah. No Muslim who will make a statement like this. Yet when it comes to hijab, which is on par in its fardiyah, its obligation is just the same, people act as though it is something that we have a choice in. While reality is, there is no such choice. You have either fulfilled the obligation properly or not. Whatever you do that is below it is not fulfilling it. In today's time, people have broken down hijab into ethnicity type divisions. So you'll have Indian hijab, Malay hijab, the Indonesian American version, English version, everybody's got their version, and then everybody feels I'm wearing hijab. So you have India, Pakistan, and a woman will wear a shalwar kameez, the pants of which is so tight and the kurti top is sitting above her knees or maybe just below the knee. She's got the scarf loosely wrapped around her hair with the fringe hanging out, and in her mind, I'm wearing hijab. You come to amongst Malays, certain, not generalizing, and then there will be a woman who will take her hair and tuck it into a turban and say, I'm wearing hijab. So she's got her whole arms are exposed. She may be wearing a jeans and she feels I'm wearing hijab because after all my hair is covered, because hijab means a headscarf. Then you go to Indonesia, Malaysia, and then they'll cover their hair. They may wear a loose skirt, but then they've got a tight-fitting top on. All of these things, none of it is regarded as being hijab. Hijab is the complete concealment of a woman's body. That's number one. The ulama have explained that what are the requirements for something to be deemed as being hijab. It's not something that is new. It's not something that is strange. It's not something that was made up yesterday. It's something which has come from the beginning of Islam. And the law of hijab is mentioned in the Quran. Allah sent down the ayah, يا أيها النبي قل لأزواجك وبناتك ونساء المؤمنين يدنين عليهن من جلابيبهن. That Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, tell your wives and your daughters and the women of the believers, all Muslims, anyone who is a Muslim, then this ruling applies to them, which is what? يُدْنِينَ عَلَيْهِنَّ مِنْ جَلَابِيبِهِنْ, that they should draw their jalabib, which is the plural of the word jilbab, they should draw it close over themselves. And this is known as the ayah of hijab, upon which the revelation of this, the sahabiyat covered themselves, their faces, everything, and left out the place for one eye to be able to see through. That is how the Sahabiyat understood hijab. And this is what Islam is. Today people have this opinion because they live amongst the kuffar that to cover, wear the dress in black, wear the niqab and stuff, this is a Saudi thing, it's a Salafi thing, it's an extremist thing, it's something that if you want to, you can wear it. There is no such thing. To cover completely is part of Islam, and to not cover completely is something foreign to Islam. It is that simple in reality. If a woman is covering her hair, but she's wearing a t-shirt, she's not in hijab. She can do whatever she wants to in the world, she's not wearing hijab. It's like a person, he comes to masjid to perform tahiyyatul masjid, he performs those 2 raka'at, and then he sits still while the fard salah goes on without joining the salah. Would you say this person is a person who performs salah? You'd say no. The farad salah, the dhuhr, asr, maghrib, isha, fajr, that is what is farad on him, not the tahiyyatul masjid. But that he is doing, yes, alhamdulillah, tahiyyatul masjid is good. If a man is making tahajjud alone, it's something which is good, but it's not fulfilling his obligation. He's doing something separate from what he is required to do. That is good and in its own place, but it's got absolutely nothing to do with what he is required to do. So if a woman is covering her hair, but the rest of her body is exposed, she's not wearing hijab. Another one is covering her body, but her hair, a fringe or something is exposed, she's not wearing hijab, and so on and so forth. And then what happens is it falls amongst the men folk, and their problem steps in, where a man is a father or is a husband, and he now says, I cannot enforce anything. You can't force people to do things. And they make these sort of statements. And the hypocrisy and shaitaniyat of the whole story is that that same man, if he is in a tight situation, he will tell his wife, you have to do something to bring in some money. Many men want their wives to work. It's not enough that he is working, she must work too. He has no problem with that. He will enforce that she go out and work, or he'll divorce her. He's willing to put that down. Many men, they want their daughters to get an education. They must go to school. But if the child wants to wear hijab, it becomes a problem. But if the child don't want to go to school, you will enforce and make certain, because why? I know better. I know what's good for you. You need that education. It will help you in your life. You must get you. Why the difference? When it comes to matters of the dunya, such as getting an education in school, it is deemed as being so necessary, so important, the child has no say in it. But when it comes to the deen of that same child, who will bear the punishment in this world and the year after for not fulfilling an obligation, you see no problem in letting them go through life. She's 19 years old, 25 years old, walking around, having boyfriends, doing whatever, because you feel, it's not my duty to enforce things. They need to bring things into their lives themselves. Some unicorn is going to come down and suddenly bring everything right. There is no such thing. The deen has given ways and means. Command your children to perform salah at the age of 7. Hit them at the age of 10 if they don't do it. It's bred in the bone, it comes out in the flesh. If you are not going to instill it into your children, obviously when they grow up, they're not going to be wearing it. You cannot wait till they are about to get married, or they get married. Now it's like, my daughter, you must now start covering. Or she happens to marry someone, and now the husband tells her she must cover, and she's like, my father never told me to cover. Who are you? You are destroying generations as a result of you not fulfilling your own obligation of being a proper parent as well. And the same goes for a husband to a wife. You are willing to put many things on your wife which is not part of the deen, and you will not negotiate on such matters, but come to things that are obligatory, and then it's like, it's not important. If you see a woman and she's not up to scratch where looks are concerned, you have no problem saying, no, I don't want to marry her. But if she has no interest in coming onto the deen, where deen is concerned, you have no problem marrying her. I mean, where's the sense in it? You will turn down someone of deen because she don't have all the looks, but you will accept someone who have no deen but happen to have looks. That woman, if she has no deen, if she's a Christian or whatever, you marry a Christian, she ends up in Jahannam at the end of the day. That one who you didn't marry because she wasn't up to scratch where looks is concerned, her abode will still be Jannah. Where is the sense of people? So the deen has laid down that there are conditions for hijab. Hijab is the covering of the entire body. It must be clothing that is not transparent. You have these days the abayas, which is known as made out of a nida fabric, which is a type of transparent fabric, many different of these nida ones. And you then are required to wear additional clothing underneath this because it's so see-through. This is defeating the entire object. A second condition is that the hijab must not shape the body. Again, in today's age, you have amongst the abayas these type which have like belts around the waist. It is tightly pulled, so it shapes the body, and then people feel this is hijab. Again, another condition is that the hijab must not be bling. It must not have bling. And today many women go out looking for a hijab, it must have bling. Their criteria for acceptance is that it must have a lot of bling on it, because I like bling. A woman is walking around looking like a Christmas tree, lights flashing all over the place on what is supposed to be a means of concealment. Instead, it has become a means of adornment and display. Far removed is all of these things from the deen. So hijab is the covering of the entire body, including the face veil. And from a character perspective, her voice is not to be heard by strange men, and she don't end up chatting up and flirting with strange men as well. All of this falls under the rulings of hijab. Now, this is being discussed and directed at women, and the rulings of men is there in its place. Many women, they want to hide behind somebody else, pass the buck excuse. Why don't you address men? Yes, men are sinful. Men are walking around with low-slung pants, and that is their sin in their own right. But you will not be excused by Allah for not wearing hijab on account of some man who's not fulfilling his duty. If somebody else is engaging in zina, it don't give you the right to engage in zina. If somebody else is not performing salah, it don't give you the right to not perform salah. You will be questioned regarding yourself and yourself alone. So it is the duty of every single woman to cover herself with a proper hijab, the hijab which the deen has put down. If you have scholars for dollars, those who pander to the whims of every person to change the deen so that it suits the Oprah Winfrey version, then they will be taken to task by Allah for that too. But the deen, the four madahib, the sahaba, everyone has been unanimous about everything from the beginning of time, and nothing will suddenly change because we are living in the 20th, 21st, 22nd or 250th century. Nothing will change. The deen has been completed 1400 years ago. It will be complete until the end of the world, and nothing will change at any point ever between there and that point. So may Allah grant us the understanding and give us the ability to live our lives according to the deen of Allah, fulfilling the obligations, abstaining from the prohibitions, so that we can attain success in this world and be successful in the year after. Because if we are not fulfilling the obligations, these are the first things that Allah will question a person about, your obligations. And if you have failed in your obligation, all your extra ibadah that you had done on the side, the optional ones, will not be able to benefit you when your faraid, your obligations have all fallen to the wayside. So may Allah grant us the ability to understand things and to follow the deen the way it should be followed, without compromise, without watering the deen down, and attain success by following that. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.